Welcome back to America's Forum. I'm John Bachman, sticking around for another segment. Newsmax's Morgan Thompson. Hey, Morgan.
Thank you, John. Just a little bit of advice. If you're going to disparage someone in public, make sure you look over your shoulder before you begin.
He's willing to say whatever you want to hear to get elected. But when it comes down to the facts, to the record, when it was time to stand up and make a difference, he left.
Good to see you.
Hey,
How are you? Doing well. Save your family. Governor, he says you haven't, you told lies about.
He's going to get to debate the lieutenant governor candidate. Give me Scott.
Lieutenant Governor Carlos Lopez Quintero being a bit too honest with his opinions about his former colleague Charlie Crist while speaking to assembled reporters at the Forum Club of the Palm Beaches. The Lieutenant Governor accused Crist of being willing to betray voters with false promises. When asked to respond to Lopez Quintero's remarks, Crist simply stated, "Give me Scott," judging the Lieutenant Governor to be an unworthy adversary. Crist was elected as Florida's Republican governor in 2007, but became an independent in 2010. After his term ended in 2011, he switched sides and is now running for office as a Democrat.
All right, so that was some good political theater that we saw play out there in Palm Beach, and I was enjoying watching that clip yesterday. Joining us also on the set is Javier Manjarres, the managing editor of the Shark Tank political blog, which focuses on Florida politics, among other things. Javier, it's great to see you.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, so you actually got a chance to talk to Governor Scott and got to talk to him a little bit about this dust-up, and he was talking about it. Tell us what he told you.
Right, well, he was speaking at a press conference down in Miami, and afterwards he took questions from reporters, and the very last question was as asked by Mark Caputo from Miami Herald, and he asked him about this "Give me Scott" comment, and he laughed at him and said, "Listen, that's just laughable. He's got a primary to contend with." And it's true, but what's important here is that the takeaway from this is that this is the first time Governor Scott goes after Charlie Crist by name. So I think the campaign, in essence, started yesterday.
We just had George Lemieux, the senator that was appointed by Charlie Crist to fill that vacant seat a few years ago, still Republican. He's backing Rick Scott here. Yesterday he said that this race hasn't been defined, but it sounds like it kind of has been defined now.
Oh, it has been. Look, Nana Rich is a nice woman, very liberal. We disagree on everything, but very nice woman. And look, she's not getting the credit that's due to her. Charlie Crist has been sucking the air out of the room since he got in the race. I think she's going to go after him. She has gone after him, and she's going to continue pummeling him. And I think it's fair for Democrats. But we'll see how this comes out. At the end of the day, it's going to be Charlie Crist against Rick Scott, no matter what.
So if we think the race has really just officially begun as of yesterday, is this an indication of how ugly it's going to be? I mean, is this just the tip of the iceberg?
Ugly?
Okay, it's funny for us, but
it's great for me. I'm going to have fun covering it. But yeah, it's going to be pretty ugly. This is Charlie Crist we're speaking to, the Houdini of politics. Poof, he's a Democrat one day. Poof, he's a Republican the next. Again, he's going to bring out everything to win that seat. He is the quintessential typical politician. He wants to win at all costs. And, of course, Rick Scott's going to counter him.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see. Some of the aggregate poll numbers show that Governor Scott is closing on Charlie Crist, who at least had an early lead, but that lead may be eroding a little bit. Rick Scott also has a lot of jobs that he can claim that he created in this race, and that's going to be important for voters. But I also want to talk about another subject, Javier, and that is the issue of attracting Hispanic voters to the Republican Party, and something you know very well. Rand Paul has been making headlines after he told Republicans that they need to, quote, get beyond the idea of deportation. Can Rand Paul be the guy who sells this message, not just to the base of the party, but to other folks out there, Latinos?
Well, he could be. Anyone could, but I think the problem here lies within the Republican Party. Look, they're the outreach party, and that's where they make the mistake. They need to be the party of inclusion. Look, Hispanics are here, whether they're here illegally or legally. They're here to stay. They're not going anywhere. So, again, we all embrace legal immigration, like Rand Paul, Marco Rubio, Senator Ted Cruz, but the fact is that you need to include these people. If a lot of them are here legally, include them. Say, hey, we're not the party of no, as the Democrats try to paint them. We're the party of inclusion. We're not outreach. Because look, when you reach out to someone, you're not anywhere near them. You have to reach out to them. So include them. They live. They're your neighbors. They're your people you see at the grocery store. Include them, and I think that's the message that the Republican Party needs to convey to win this election.
Yeah,
and future elections.
I really wish JD was here, because I'm sure he'd jump in this argument and disagree with you on some points. But an issue in Florida specifically, and George Lemieux, who we had on here, the former senator, wrote an op-ed piece on this recently, and it's the in-state tuition issue for illegals. And Governor Scott has kind of softened on this issue a little bit as well. What do you think about it? Is this an issue that the Republican Party, as some in Florida have seen to do, come around on this issue and make this something that can appeal to more Latinas?
Well, I disagree with it. I don't think there should be in-state tuition for illegal immigrants. And now a lot of these are dreamers, so to speak. These
right.
are quote-unquote dreamers that are here at no fault of their own. They're here illegally because they were brought here illegally. Look, you sympathize for these people, but again, the law is the law. So as far as the in-state tuition, I disagree with that. I think it needs to be addressed more than just a bill to come down and people to vote on it and say, hey, they're all going to get tuition, because where does it stop then? I mean, where does it end? I mean, what's next? Are they all going to get an amnesty because of they opened the door with the in-state tuition?
And we famously heard Jeb Bush call this act of illegal immigration an act of love.
Right.
Jeb Bush, a Florida guy, a Miami guy, a guy you know very well. He's backed up those statements. Is this the line, the theme? Is he hitting a sweet spot right here, or is he completely off base?
With this act of love, he's off base. I mean, everyone has ripped on him because look, he's pandering. He's completely pandering. I was in Washington last week with Congressman Raul Labrador. He said, "Listen, the guy's pandering, and it's shameful. It is. But again, this is politics, so we expect that from our politicians. If they weren't pandering for something, they wouldn't be our politicians."
Well, and it's funny to me how important a part Florida plays in this, and how much representative do you think we are of the country as a whole?
Well, I mean, look, Florida is the swing state, regardless of what they say. It swings either way, depending on the climate, what issues are important. But immigration is always going to be a big issue, simply because of the influx of Hispanics are here, mainly Puerto Ricans in the I-4 corridor.
Right.
These are already Americans. These people can vote.
And how is Florida Governor Rick Scott doing with these voters?
You know what? I couldn't tell you right now. I can tell you this much: his Spanish has gotten a lot better.
All right. Well, good for Governor Scott, because it's important, as you mentioned. Big issue. It's going to be for Marco Rubio as well. Javier, we'll have to have you back, because Florida, as we mentioned, is certainly heating up in the political realm, and weather too. I think we noticed today as well. All right, guys, we'll be back with more, and we can always get to your comments as well. We want you to weigh in on this discussion. What do you think about what we were just talking about right here in the Republican Party's outreach to Hispanic and Latino voters? You can reach out to us on social media at Newsmax TV. The hashtag is America's Forum. The email address is connect@newsmaxtv.com. And you can find us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewsmaxTV. America's Forum continues right after this short break.